Let's talk about the first rule, discipline before wealth. You see, it's easy to dream of a better life. It's easy to imagine what you'll do when the money starts flowing, when the business grows, when the opportunities finally arrive. But let me tell you something I learned the hard way. You can't hold abundance with undisciplined hands. Wealth doesn't respond to wishes, it responds to structure. It's not attracted to excitement, it's attracted to order. When I was young, I used to think success began when you had the right opportunity. I thought the right product, the right mentor, or the right timing would change everything. But then I discovered that if you handed $1 million to an undisciplined person, they'd lose it. And if you took it away from a disciplined person, they'd earn it back. The difference isn't the money, it's the mindset. It's discipline. Discipline weighs ounces, regret weighs tons. Think about that. The pain of getting up early, reading instead of scrolling, saving instead of spending, those are small weights. Manageable ones. But the pain of looking back 10 years from now, realizing you traded potential for comfort, that's a heavy burden. You don't want that kind of weight on your shoulders. So start small. Don't wait to become disciplined when life is easier, because it won't be. Begin now. Write down your non-negotiables, the daily disciplines that shape your future, your health, your savings, your reading, your reflection. Keep the list short, but sacred. For me, it was simple. I decided I'd read a little every day, save a little from every paycheck, and move my body daily. That's where self-respect begins, by keeping promises to yourself that no one else sees. And don't just set disciplines, measure them. What gets measured improves. I used to track my habits with a simple notebook, how many pages I read, how much I saved, how I spent my time. It wasn't fancy, but it created awareness. You can't improve what you don't observe. Consistency is where discipline becomes character. At first, it's uncomfortable, like wearing new shoes that don't quite fit. But if you stick with it, something powerful happens. The habits that once required effort start to feel natural. Discipline becomes your identity. You stop forcing yourself to do what's right. You start preferring it. Remember, the goal isn't perfection. You'll miss days, you'll stumble, but the disciplined person doesn't quit. They recalibrate. They return to the routine because they know that discipline is the container that holds abundance. If you want wealth to stay, prepare yourself to handle it. If you want success to last, build the character that can sustain it. Don't chase the rewards, build the structure. Because when discipline is in place, wealth has no choice but to follow. Let's talk about one of the most powerful money philosophies I ever learned. Always pay yourself first. Now, that might sound simple, but it's one of the biggest turning points in anyone's financial life. You see, most people get this equation completely backward. They spend first, then try to save what's left. And you know what's usually left? Nothing. Because life has a way of consuming everything you allow it to. The bills expand to the size of your paycheck. The wants grow faster than your income. The only way to break that cycle is to flip the order, to make saving the first commandment of your financial philosophy. When I started out, I didn't have much. I was broke, not just financially, but mentally. And I used to tell myself, when I start making more, then I'll start saving. But that day never came because that thinking was upside down. You don't start saving when you have more. You start saving to have more. You don't build wealth by the size of your income. You build it by the order of your priorities. The wealthy live by a simple rule: invest first, spend what's left. The poor live by the opposite: spend first, and pray something's left to save. It's not the amount that matters, it's the habit. If all you can put aside is $1, start there. Because what matters most is who you become in the process. A disciplined saver develops control, vision, and patience, the same traits required to manage abundance when it finally arrives. Here's how you make this work automated. The moment money touches your hands, before it ever lands in your spending account, a portion must go toward your future. Save at least 10%, invest another 10%, and live on the remaining 80%. Think of that 20% as a non-negotiable expense, a bill you owe your future self. And here's the key: never miss that payment. Because if you wouldn't skip rent, don't skip the rent on your dreams. I remember when I finally took this principle seriously. I didn't wait for a big raise or some windfall. I started with 10, then 20, then 50. Over time, the habit built confidence. My savings became my freedom fund, not just a pile of money, but proof that I could control my own financial direction. And when you see those numbers grow, even slowly, something happens inside you. You start walking differently. You start thinking differently. Because saving isn't about deprivation, it's about dignity. So before you buy the next thing you don't need, pause and ask, have I paid myself first? Because the person who learns to do that is no longer working for money. Money is now working for them. Wealth isn't built from income alone. It's built from discipline applied to income. The order determines the outcome. Remember, it's not how much you make that counts, it's how much you keep. Let's take a moment to discuss something many people overlook: your emotions and your money. You see, money is an excellent servant, but a terrible master. When your emotions are in charge, even the biggest paycheck will slip through your fingers faster than you can imagine. I've watched it countless times. People make decisions based on fear, greed, envy, or impulse, and wonder why their financial results never reflect their effort. The truth is, wealth isn't just about earning more or working harder. It's about thinking clearly, acting deliberately, and managing your inner world before you manage your bank account. Early in my own journey, I learned this the hard way. I remember being tempted to invest in a hot tip from a colleague. My heart raced. My mind said, this could be it. But deep down, I sensed a rush of emotion driving my decision. Instead of acting immediately, I forced myself to pause. I gave it 24 hours. In that time, the initial excitement faded and reason returned. I analyzed the opportunity objectively, considered the risks, and ultimately realized it wasn't aligned with my long-term plan. That small pause saved me from a mistake that could have cost me dearly. That's the power of emotional control in financial decisions. A pause creates clarity, and clarity preserves wealth. Another tool I found indispensable is keeping a financial journal. Every week, I would write down not only what I earned and spent, but also the emotions tied to those decisions. Did I overspend because I was bored or stressed? Did I hesitate to invest because fear had taken hold? By reflecting consistently, I could identify patterns in my behavior that either strengthened or weakened my financial growth. Writing down wins reinforced good habits, while documenting mistakes prevented repetition. Over time, this practice developed a calm, rational mindset, a mindset that allows money to serve you instead of controlling you. And when it comes to investing, let me be clear, never make decisions out of fear or greed. The market will tempt you with stories of overnight success and frantic warnings of loss. The weak will react emotionally. The wise act strategically. Every investment, every purchase, every financial choice should be based on knowledge, research, and alignment with your long-term objectives. Greed and fear are short-term masters that destroy long-term wealth. Discipline, strategy, and patience are the true allies of financial freedom. Remember, managing money without managing your emotions is like steering a ship in a storm while blindfolded. You may move, but you'll drift off course. Master your emotions first, and money will respond to your control. Wealth isn't about how fast you earn, It's about how wisely you handle what you already have. Calm logic and reflection turn money into a loyal servant. Let it serve you, not dominate you. When we talk about wealth, most people immediately think of possessions, luxury, and status. But let me tell you, true wealth is not measured by the size of your house, the car you drive, or the vacations you take. Those things are fleeting. Real wealth is about the legacy you leave behind, the life that matters, the impact you create, and the values you instill in others. I've learned over the years that chasing lifestyle alone leads to emptiness, while building a legacy creates purpose, fulfillment, and influence that lasts far beyond your own lifetime. Early in my journey, I noticed how easy it was to get caught up in appearances. I could have spent every dollar on toys and comforts. But I realized that all the money in the world wouldn't make me richer in the ways that truly matter. Wealth, I discovered, is a tool, a servant, and like any tool, it has its highest purpose when it builds something greater than yourself. I began asking a different question. Instead of, how much can I get? I asked, how much can I give? How can I create systems that outlive me? That shift in thinking transformed every decision I made. One of the most powerful ways to build a legacy is through family and education. Teach your children the principles that helped you succeed. Don't just hand them money or possessions. Hand them wisdom, habits, and understanding. Show them how money works, but more importantly, show them how values work. The wealth that builds character is more enduring than the wealth that buys comfort. I remember spending countless hours sharing lessons on discipline, saving, and generosity with those close to me. Those lessons multiplied in ways I never could have predicted. Beyond family, legacy is built through creating systems that serve others, businesses that provide opportunity, causes that change lives, or education that equips the next generation. Every dollar invested in a meaningful project compounds in value, not just financially, but socially and spiritually. I've seen it in small ways. A local business I helped mentor continues to employ dozens of people, giving them stability and hope. A scholarship I funded enabled a young person to pursue a dream that would otherwise have been impossible. These are the returns that truly matter. The rich who chase only lifestyle may appear successful, but their influence fades with the next paycheck. The wealthy who focus on legacy see their impact ripple outward. Their contributions inspire others, empower communities, and create a foundation for lasting freedom. Shift your mindset from consumption to contribution. Make your wealth a vehicle for purpose. Ask daily, how can I serve? How can I leave something behind that endures? The answer will guide your spending, your saving, your investing, and ultimately your life. Wealth without meaning is hollow. Wealth with purpose is immortal. Focus on legacy, and everything else aligns naturally. When we talk about success, most people think of dollars, titles, or recognition. But let me tell you, the truest measure of success is not what you earn, but who you become in the process. Wealth is never an accident. It is a reflection of your character. If you grow as a person, wealth will naturally follow. If you remain stagnant, no amount of money will ever satisfy or sustain you. I've seen it countless times. People chase money without cultivating themselves, and the moment the challenge comes, everything crumbles. Success that lasts begins inside, in the quiet cultivation of integrity, discipline, and wisdom. Early in my career, I learned a powerful lesson. Promises, even small ones, are the currency of character. When I committed to completing a task, following through, or showing up on time, it wasn't about impressing others, it was about honoring myself. Every promise kept compounded into trust, respect, and confidence. That compounded trust became a foundation for opportunities I could never have bought or forced. I realized that money will always follow value, and value is created by the person you become. Self-mastery is the cornerstone. Honesty in thought and action, humility in success, and courage in the face of failure are not optional. They are the fertile soil from which lasting wealth grows. I remember the early days when I struggled to make ends meet, and I could have taken shortcuts, lied, or cut corners. But I chose the harder path, to do right, to learn, to improve myself daily. Those small choices accumulated. They weren't flashy, but they built a reputation and capability that attracted both opportunities and resources far beyond what luck could have delivered. Ask yourself daily, who am I becoming through this pursuit of success? Let that question guide your actions more than the balance in your bank account. Every decision, how you spend your time, how you handle setbacks, how you treat others, shapes the person you are becoming. The wealthy understand this intuitively. They invest in themselves relentlessly because they know that the return is far greater than any stock, property, or paycheck. Your character compounds like interest. Small acts of integrity today create massive returns tomorrow. Focus less on proving your success to others and more on improving yourself for yourself. Wealth without growth is hollow. Growth without wealth is rich in character. Let your life be a testament to the value you create. Every honest action, every promise kept, every moment you choose to grow quietly adds up. When you nurture your character, the world notices, opportunities appear, and wealth follows naturally. Become the person who can handle abundance. Become the person who can lead, give, and inspire. The money will come, but the transformation, that is the real success. Life and wealth move in cycles whether we acknowledge them or not. There is a season to plant, a season to grow, a season to harvest, and a season to rest. The problem is, most people ignore these natural rhythms. They try to force growth in winter, spend recklessly in autumn, or sit idle in spring. But wealth is not just about effort, it's about timing. To build lasting prosperity, you must understand the seasons of life and work with them, not against them. I've learned this through my own journey and watching others succeed and fail. When I was in my 20s, I didn't have much money, but I had time, energy, and a willingness to learn. That was my spring, my planting season. I dedicated myself to reading, attending seminars, and learning the principles of business, money, and personal development. I invested small amounts when I could, not for immediate reward, but for compounding growth over years. I treated every challenge as fertilizer for my future. Those who fail to plant in their spring find themselves scrambling when harvest time comes. In your 30s, the planting continues, but with more focus. Skills, networks, and financial habits established early begin to take root. I remember saving small sums regularly and reinvesting them, even when the results seemed invisible. It's easy to give up when growth is slow, but seasons require patience. A tree doesn't bloom the day you plant it. The same principle applies to wealth and skill building. Consistent effort in the right season compounds into extraordinary results over time. In your 40s and 50s, you enter the preservation and scaling phase. By this time, you have systems, investments, and relationships in place. Now it's about protecting what you've built and expanding strategically. I've seen people in this stage make foolish choices, chasing risky ventures without considering their foundation, and they pay dearly. The wealthy understand that autumn is not just for harvesting, it's for consolidating and preparing for the inevitable winters. Diversify, protect your capital, strengthen your influence, and prepare for downturns before they arrive. Winter is inevitable, whether it's economic, personal, or professional. The wise are never caught unprepared. They anticipate recessions, slow seasons, and personal challenges by building reserves and flexible systems long before they face hardship. I learned early that the time to plan for winter is not when the frost arrives, but during the warmth of summer. This foresight allows you to endure setbacks with confidence, knowing your foundation is solid and your actions are deliberate. Understanding the seasons of wealth transforms your approach to life and money. You learn patience, timing, and strategic foresight. You stop chasing immediate gratification and start focusing on long-term abundance. You plant when it matters, nurture consistently, harvest wisely, and rest strategically. By living in harmony with these seasons, you turn your energy, your resources, and your efforts into a compounding, unstoppable force. The key is simple: respect the seasons, act in the right time, and let nature's rhythm guide your financial and personal growth. Your success will flourish when you honor the cycles. Before wealth comes, value must be built. I've learned this truth not in textbooks, but in the classrooms of life and through experience. Many people make the mistake of asking for higher pay, bigger bonuses, or faster promotions without first asking themselves a more important question: am I truly valuable? Money is not something you chase directly. It is the shadow cast by the light of your contribution. The more you give, the more the world rewards you, and the more naturally income flows. I remember early in my career, I was frustrated with my paycheck. I thought I was working hard, showing up on time, and doing what was expected. Yet, the rewards never seemed proportional. One of my mentors sat me down and asked, "What problems are you solving that no one else can? What value are you adding that they cannot ignore?" It was a pivotal moment. I realized that effort alone, while necessary, was not sufficient. Value, not time, creates wealth. From that day, I shifted my focus. Instead of asking for more, I asked myself how I could become more indispensable. I learned new skills, studied the market, and sought ways to solve bigger problems than before. I became someone who could be trusted to handle complex challenges, someone who others turned to for solutions. Gradually, the income followed naturally, almost as if money itself were trailing behind my growth. This is the fundamental principle: the richer your value, the richer your results. To cultivate this, it's important to learn something that increases your market worth every single year. A high-value skill might be negotiation, financial literacy, leadership, communication, or a technical expertise in your field. What matters is that it sets you apart and allows you to contribute in ways others cannot easily replicate. I've seen countless people stagnate because they relied solely on what they already knew. Those who commit to growth, who intentionally develop new abilities, invariably see their influence and income rise. Serving others is central to this philosophy. Every day, ask not, "How can I earn more?" but rather, "How can I serve better?" When your focus shifts from self-interest to contribution, your work becomes meaningful, your reputation strengthens, and opportunities that would otherwise remain hidden begin to appear. I recall helping a colleague solve a persistent problem beyond my job description. That single act of service led to a long-term partnership that significantly boosted my career. Solving larger problems and increasing value is a compounding process. Small acts of excellence build credibility. Every new skill mastered, every problem solved, every bit of value added multiplies your potential income. Wealth is not just an accident of chance. It is the reflection of the worth you deliver to others. Remember this before asking for more money. Become more valuable. Focus on contribution, mastery, and impact, and the rewards will naturally follow. Income always reflects value, and the richer your value, the richer your life. Opportunities are often mistaken for luck, when in truth, they are the natural byproduct of preparation and action. I've observed this countless times in my own life and in the lives of those who succeed beyond measure. Waiting for a door to open is a trap. Those who stand idly by hoping that fortune will smile upon them often find themselves looking at closed doors, wondering why nothing has changed. Real success is never passive. It comes to those who prepare, those who act, and those who refuse to wait for someone else's permission. Early in my career, I remember watching people lament the lack of opportunity. They wanted promotions, new clients, or lucrative deals, but they spent their time wishing instead of building. I realized quickly that if I wanted to move ahead, I had to create my own opportunities. I began listing skills I could develop, ideas I could implement, and gaps in the market that I could fill. I didn't wait for someone to hand me a chance. I built the platform that made me visible and valuable. This is the principle: opportunity favors the prepared, not the passive. Preparation is more than just learning. It's positioning. I've seen talented people fail because they were not in the right place with the right people at the right time. Networking is not about collecting business cards or attending every event. It's about intentional proximity. Surround yourself with those who challenge you, those whose achievements push you to grow, and those whose knowledge you can absorb. Every conversation, every connection, every act of service builds a network that eventually opens doors. I learned that my circles often determine my possibilities more than my credentials. Once you are prepared, action becomes critical. Ideas without execution are worthless. I remember brainstorming ways to expand a small venture early in my career. Instead of waiting for approval or perfect conditions, I took immediate steps to test concepts, meet potential partners, and explore markets. Some efforts failed, but the momentum created doors I never expected. The key is this: momentum favors the bold. When you move, the world responds. Hesitation, on the other hand, allows opportunities to slip away unnoticed. Creating opportunity also means thinking differently about risk. Most people see obstacles. I see possibilities. When a challenge arises, I ask myself, how can I turn this into an opening? By shifting perspective, you stop waiting for chance and start generating it. Small, consistent actions compound into significant breakthroughs over time. Plant seeds today, nurture them, and opportunities will grow where others see only walls. So don't wait. Don't sit hoping for opportunity to knock. Build the doors, sharpen your skills, expand your network, and act decisively on the ideas that matter. Life rewards the prepared, the bold, and those who refuse to wait. Your success begins when you stop hoping and start creating. Comfort is a seductive trap. It whispers to you, relax, you've done enough, while quietly shrinking your potential. I've watched countless people settle for ease, mistaking it for success, only to wake up years later wondering why life hasn't delivered what they hoped. The truth is, wealth, in every sense of the word, is built not in comfort, but in capacity. Every challenge you face, every uncomfortable situation you endure, expands the muscles of your potential. I remember early in my career, when I was given a role that pushed me far beyond anything I thought I could handle. It was uncomfortable, terrifying at times, but I discovered a capacity I didn't know existed. That stretch, that daily willingness to endure what felt beyond my limits, became the foundation for skills, confidence, and ultimately, income that I never would have imagined in a life of comfort. Every hard lesson added to my ability to perform, to create, and to lead. Wealth is not merely money. It is what you are able to do and contribute because you have stretched yourself. The principle is simple: the more capacity you develop, the more opportunity you can seize. Comfort creates stagnation. Those who wish life were easier instead of wishing they were better are trapped in a cycle of limitation. I learned that growth rarely comes from what feels safe. It comes from what challenges you to think, act, and endure beyond your current abilities. That daily habit of doing one hard thing, whether it's tackling a difficult conversation, learning a complex skill, or stepping into a new role, multiplies your capability exponentially over time. Failure is a companion on this journey. When you push beyond comfort, you will fail. I've failed more times than I can count. But failure, if approached correctly, is feedback, not judgment. Every setback carries a lesson, a correction, and a building block for the next level. I journaled my failures, studied them, and asked myself what capacity each experience demanded. By embracing discomfort as training, I turned setbacks into growth accelerators. Comfort also dulls ambition. The world rarely rewards those who choose ease. Those who prosper, who create wealth that lasts, are the ones who accept challenges, who endure stress, and who continue to expand their abilities even when it's difficult. When something stretches you, remember that is exactly where growth happens. Your income, your influence, your freedom, they all scale in proportion to the capacity you develop during uncomfortable seasons. So, don't chase comfort. Chase capacity. Push yourself daily. Embrace failure as a teacher and see discomfort as the ladder to greater success. Growth is never comfortable, but it is always profitable. Leadership is often misunderstood. Many believe it is about titles, influence, or the applause of others. But true leadership begins quietly in the private corners of your life, long before it ever becomes visible to the world. I've discovered that to guide others, you must first master yourself. Your habits, your choices, and your discipline form the foundation upon which all influence is built. Without this inner authority, any attempt to lead is like trying to steer a ship with a broken rudder, directionless and unstable. I remember the early days of my journey when I struggled with inconsistency. I wanted to inspire others, to motivate teams to create impact, but my own life was chaotic. I learned the hard way that no speech, no charm, no vision could compensate for a lack of personal mastery. The first breakthrough came when I committed to a morning routine, a quiet hour of reflection, reading, and planning. That small, consistent investment in order gave me control over my day, my energy, and my focus. It was invisible to anyone else, yet it transformed everything I did publicly. Leadership starts with keeping commitments to yourself. If you promise to read, exercise, or save, and then fail to follow through, you erode the authority you need to lead others. I began tracking every promise I made to myself, no matter how small. Over time, I noticed a shift, not just in my habits, but in the confidence with which I approached the world. People naturally respond to those who command themselves first. They sense authenticity, reliability, and strength in someone whose inner life is aligned. Consistency is more persuasive than charisma. You may have a magnetic personality, but without the discipline to follow through, your words carry little weight. I've seen countless talented people falter because they neglected self-leadership. Meanwhile, someone who quietly adheres to their principles, honors their routines, and masters their emotions builds influence that cannot be bought or borrowed. Leadership is reflected in habits, not applause. To lead yourself first means to act with intentionality every day. Begin your morning with purpose. Plan your tasks, focus your energy, and commit to the actions that align with your long-term goals. Respect your own time, honor your promises, and cultivate resilience in the face of setbacks. Each act of self-mastery compounds, creating the credibility and authority that others naturally follow. Remember, leadership is not a position. It is a practice. Influence flows from discipline, consistency, and integrity. If you master yourself, you earn the right to lead others. The world will notice not because you tell them, but because your life becomes proof of your principles. Lead yourself first, and the path to leading others becomes inevitable.